Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Air Force Association's annual Airspace and Cyber Conference and Trade Show, the United States Air Force's most important annual gathering with leaders from across the service who come here from bases worldwide to discuss the future of the force. Our coverage here is sponsored by Elbit Systems of America, L3 Technologies, and Leonardo DRS. And we're here on the L3 Technology stand to talk to the new Senior Vice President and Global Chief Business Development Officer, Steve O'Brien. Congratulations, Steve. Welcome aboard. And how's it feel to be at the new home?
Vago, it's great. Thanks so much for it. It's good to see friendly faces like you around too. And it's great to be part of L3. Friendly faces like Chris Kubasik. Now we've got Sean Stackley moving in from a strategy role into a business leader role, right. Joining Todd Gauthier and Jeff Miller, leading our 3 segments. So it's fun to be part of L3 and all that's happening today.
You've got an extraordinary job, which makes that you're basically Washington Ops, global business development, domestic business development, and all points in between. Big responsibility. Talk to us about the new organization. You're trying to revitalize the entire, L3 has always been very, very strong in that field, but you're trying to point it. Chris has got some pretty ambitious sales goals that he wants to achieve, market growth goals also. Talk to us a little bit about the new job and how you're going to support that mission.
Well, it's sort of threading the needle. If you look at L3, it has some great capabilities. A lot of those are innovation, agility, really a small bureaucratic footprint. So it's a company that's able to move rather quickly in different domains. Now we're trying to integrate and collaborate a lot more. So how do you build up an infrastructure that's able to really go in an international sense to be successful without kind of layering in bureaucracy and cost that would make it really impossible for it to do that. So as we do that, we're building up the capabilities of collaboration, doing up the talents that we have, integrating the things that we have, but we want to be sure to maintain really the innovative spirit, the flexible spirit, and really the agility that makes L3 famous.
You guys have a spread of products, everything from finished systems at one end to everything in between. Talk to us a little bit, as the American customer is re-gearing to a great power competition. That's the big message we received here from the Air Force leadership. That's the same across DoD. That's also very, very similar across the world in terms of what customers want. Talk to us a little bit about where you see the greatest opportunities, where you see the greatest domestic opportunities, where do you see the greatest international opportunities?
Well, domestically we see it really in the classified realm. So L3's ability to move rather fast on some capabilities and bring different approaches to problems. Approaches that are maybe a little bit more innovative, that drive down costs, that can do things in a different way. We've been really successful working with the Rapid Capabilities Office, with the SCO and others to really provide value to our customers where it's harder for the larger defense primes to move as quickly as we do. So we're trying to bring a more non-traditional approach to products that are out there today, and we've been successful. We're also seeing that internationally too. So there's a lot of countries that are, I tried to think of it as, they're moving at a pace that's really not their norm. So they are moving fast and at a speed we've really never seen them move at any time in the last few decades. And they're looking for a partner to move along there with them. They're looking for a partner to establish joint ventures. They're looking for a partner to give them capabilities and industrial capabilities at the same time on a what I would say on a long view of partnership. And I think we're able to provide that. We have capabilities to do it, and we have a leadership team with Chris and his leadership team who are willing to do it. And we've been successful so far.
Chris Kubasik, obviously a long career in the industry. Was at Lockheed Martin. I believe you were at Lockheed Martin until very, very recently as well. As you guys are building this new organization, what are elements that you want to take from your heritage experiences and fold it into the new company? What are things that you guys want to do completely differently? Because you've got such a span of talent coming at you from companies that have had tremendous reputations in their own right for global success. What are some of these bits that you want to bring into this new sales team that you're building?
Well, Lockheed Martin has been, and Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Boeing has been just really successful internationally doing business. L3 has really not performed how they would want to internationally. So we're trying to take those capabilities that are out there today and try to partner with the right companies, with the right products, really to grow our business and really provide value to countries and customers out there today. So trying to do that, you really need to really take a lot of the resources out there that were really distributed among very many different L3 companies and try to aggregate them to be more effective. Not only effective in a cost sense in terms of how we deal with real estate and people and such, but being more effective in how we offer things to the customer. Instead of a widget or a black box, we need to offer solutions. And we can do that in cooperation with those countries' industry to provide a total solution. So trying to take that capability and that thought process and really what the industrial value can bring and partnership to it is an approach that's a little bit different for L3, and we're moving toward that today in a lot of different countries.
Ab initio pilot training is one of the things you guys do. What are some other market segments, particularly in international, where you see the greatest traction?
Well, let's talk about training. So right now, L3 is the world's largest commercial trainer of pilots. 1,600 pilots a year commercially that deploy out and end up in the right seats of 737s and A320s and many different airlines all across the world. We do it in an efficient way. We do it in a very training and cost competitive way where the people who leave go to fly aircraft where all of us, our wives, our kids, and our families are going to be flying with, and I can tell you, you can trust that they're doing it in the most safest way. So how do you deal with that capability? And we have L3 DOS, which does the initial pilot training that you were talking about. And can you synergize those? Can you train in mass to help solve the Air Force solution that we have today and continue that commercial pilot pipeline they do? Taking the best from both worlds, both speed and efficiency, and then adapting it to different military uses. I think there's an opportunity out there, not only in the US, but there may be opportunities international to be efficient about it and help solve the pilot shortage that's out there among all the services.
You were a legendary surface warfare officer before you became a legendary naval aviator flying the F-18. So you know that of which you speak when it comes to anything aviation related. What are some other global market segments? Right, I mean, it's an ambitious goal to grow and grow against guys who are, got these global footprints, have got guys like Chris Davis who lived in the UAE for, a very long period of time to advance the company's business interests there. What sort of models and thinking are you going to be applying, and what are some other markets where you're going to see growth?
Let's talk about L3 WESCAM, probably the EO/IR capabilities that are really the best in the world. And it's not only the capabilities they have, but it's the sustainment approach they've managed to do. Field service reps deployed all over the world. These field service reps will do depot level repairs, they'll do organization level repairs, they keep the on-wing time in the thousands and thousands of hours with very low maintenance and very high availability rates. Those are fantastic, and you have a deployed workforce as well as a deployed sustainment workforce that's out there today in many, many different countries all over the world. What can we do to leverage that workforce, those relationships that are out there among air forces, armies, and even navies of the world that really other L3 products can provide value on that same capability? They also have industrial relationships today. So how do you leverage the industrial relationships both in machining and EO/IR world and on wing time with sustainment and the customer? Those are the kind of things that L3 needs to take advantage of and really to provide a more holistic solution rather than just an individual component.
Let me take you to pilot training. This is a major challenge, not just for the U.S. Air Force. At first it was a fighter problem, then now the Mobility Command has that same challenge, obviously with multi-engine aircraft. The Navy has a similar sort of a challenge, Marine Corps, everybody's facing it. It's a global challenge and problem, as you mentioned. What's the role of industry to try to help governments with this? Because we're looking at a generational shift in the commercial in commercial aviation in terms of pilots aging out, taking advantage of that extra 6 years that they kept. Now they're hitting 65, they've got to go home. And also air traffic is exploding. So, each one of the companies, I mean, it's like what, almost 100, more than 100 commercial aircraft narrow bodies are being built a month between Boeing and Airbus, even though they're having some production challenges. Talk to us a little bit about what industry's role is to train this next generation of military pilot.
No, Vago, you're right. This problem is not going away. okay? The amount of aircraft being built, the market size and the demand for pilots and the cost to train pilots is not going away anytime soon. So what I think industry has, at least for L3, I think we've got two requirements. One, we do efficient level training, PhD level training, to get young pilots to understand and become proficient quickly. So it's what I'll say, it's the ability to identify pilots that are going to make it through the program and succeed, that train them quickly and deploy them to the forces as quickly as possible. I think L3 has an obligation not only to the military, but to fill those pilot seats and airliners, keep the world economy moving and keep that is. And L3 will do that. We're going to continue to increase our commercial pilot training capabilities, doing 1,600 pilots a year. But as you said, I mean, here's the fact. You have a bunch of different pilot retirement, over 100 and some odd plus, so probably 120 to 130 a month of just A320s and 737s, not to mention the C-Series and the Embraers that are coming out today. Each one of those planes usually has 12 crews associated with it. So you do the math, 24 people, that's a lot of pilots each month, keeping in mind that they're going to be retiring.
That's a lot of revenue you can deliver at Chris Kubasik.
we all have our goals. And Chris will set those high. But I think the goal is there really because we can deliver. And this is something not only the commercial pilots need, but I think the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Navy, and the U.S. Army, quite frankly, as well, in rotary wing, we do some rotary wing training, need to have, and the problem's not going away. I think there were cycles in the past, but what we're talking about in terms of just really pent-up demand for worldwide air travel, this training and this pull, I'll call it, on military pilots to leave is not going to go away. Industry has to think of innovative approaches, and then they have to give it to present it to the U.S. And the U.S. government as a possibility that they can work on.
Elaborate command and control systems, including the multi-domain battle, command and control and the networks and everything that the chief wants to see. Each one of the military service chiefs have similar sort of visions. They all want to fuse. You guys do some of these kinds of very, very complicated battle management and command systems. Talk to us about the role you expect to play in this broader sort of drive that is modernization agnostic, that whatever platform we have, whether it's a domestic or an international platform, we can all plug together.
Yeah, and I think L3 is uniquely positioned for that. And there's a couple of reasons that I put in my mind. One is our history of ISR capabilities. So lots of different platforms out there, lots of different capabilities that we have. L3 has been an integral part of the ISR network in the US and other allied countries around the world. The second is we really don't own the platforms. We kind of make the platforms better. So we're platform agnostic, we're not one of the big primes, we're not the one that they generally worry about, their proprietary data, and we're the ones that we think that can help bring all the other primes together to take the Raytheons, Northrop Grumman's, Lockheed's, Boeing's, BAE's, General Dynamics, information together. We're not going to be the ones to build a platform to compete against them, but we want to be the ones to integrate it and give it to the U.S. in a more command and control capability that's out there today. I think we're really uniquely positioned to do that. I think we have capabilities that provide a necessary capability to the U.S. and allied forces, and we're investing in it today. So we look forward to working with the Air Force, the Navy, Marine Corps, and the Army and different services as they look at this multi-domain problem, but we think we've got a good solution and we want to keep investing in it.
Speaking of investment, since you're the Global Business Development Officer, there I got it right the first time I bobbled it, and I looked at you vacantly like you're somebody big. Talk to us a little bit about the advice you're going to be giving Chris as he builds a strategic future. Sean Stackley, former Navy acquisition chief, highly regarded, was working on that strategy piece of it. Now he's got P&L responsibilities, as you said, at one of the sectors, an elevation which happened today. Talk to us a little bit about, insofar as you can discuss this, where are the lines you think the company has to expand into? Is it, as has been reported and discussed widely, shipbuilding, something you need to get into? Is it more on the maintenance side of things? Is it more on, because given the fact that everybody's got old stuff to maintain a little bit longer, you guys do have some good work that you do in the rework business. Talk to us a little bit about, if you were advising Chris Kubasik on where to invest the precious dollars he's got in order to strike those patches of future growth, where would they be?
So first would be international. I would say L3 has underperformed internationally where it can do, and as we integrate our capabilities, as we collaborate out there, we'll see great benefits in the international market. I would say second is we need to play, L3 does, in capabilities in, call it force structure areas where being an agile, innovative, and fast contract really plays. So electronic warfare, in terms of night vision, night attack type opportunities.
Artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence we're investing in. Command and control, where we can be not necessarily the platform owner of these, but we can integrate it and make it better. Those are the opportunities I think L3 has, where we can really add value to it, and quite frankly, that's where the customer is looking for in a lot of different spaces.
Let me ask you one last question. There's been a lot of talk about Buy American. Some of our allies are looking at some of the statements from the administration and saying, hey, look, we're going to spend more money, but we're going to spend it at home. We're going to do collaborative programs. We'll be less apt to buy from American suppliers, even though there may be a good value proposition there. I was talking to a friend of mine in Brussels, committed transatlanticist, but he said, hey, listen, you know what, knife it hit bone. This is a good reminder. We have to shore up our own capabilities. It'll make us better allies if we retain this capability, which means we're going to have to buy less from overseas. Does that give you any trepidation going into this job, especially given that global sales are such a priority?
I don't think, for me, that doesn't change my approach to doing international business, one that you and I have talked about for many, many years, which is you really have to partner with the local industry in each one of those countries. That if you do not do that, you do not provide capabilities to that industry, you don't provide true partnership to them, and true, what I'll say, local jobs, you're likely not to be successful. If you think you can come back here to the United States, Fortress America, and try to sell out of the United States strictly into those foreign countries, you are less and less likely to do so, and you're going to be less and less successful in the future. So it's partnership with those countries, it's a long-term capability that you want to work with them, and it's understanding which I guess, vehicles you can do it into the future.
And goals, where are you going to be in 5 years? How much growth are you going to deliver Chris Kubasik domestically in 5 years, and how much on the international?
It's probably not a good thing to do stock market speculation with you, Vago. As much as I'd enjoy it right now, I'll leave that to the on the street. But look, Chris has been real specific. We want to grow, we want to provide value, we want to be a non-traditional 6 prime. And I think when I hear feedback from the customers, we're hearing that's being readily accepted. They're looking for kind of that capability going into the future.
Steve O'Brien, sailor, fighter pilot, raconteur par excellence, the Senior Vice President and Chief Global Business Development Officer for L3 Technologies. Steve, fair winds following seas on the new gig. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great to see you again, Vago. Thanks again.